huge. Which brings us on to this. This is a major new article on the UK Column website. The Global Parliament of Mayors and the Abolition of the Electorate. I'm going to ask everybody that's watching that to read this and spread this as widely as you can. Now, just to give an impression of it, it begins by saying the overall objective of the internationalists is the undermining of the independent, self-governing Westphalian nation and its system of governance, replaced by a new order more favourable to them. And we're talking about recent pressures to introduce elected mayors. And it says in 2004, the Bristol Common Purpose Group discussed advertising in the Evening Post for an elected mayor and see who applied. In the end, George Ferguson became the first independent mayor to lead a major city in Britain. He was officially sworn in at a ceremony held at Brunel's passenger shed, Temple Meads, on the 19th of November 2012. Well, Mr. Ferguson is up for re-election at the moment, and it's interesting, they had the hustings for this yesterday. And he was talking about leadership because he's clearly a common purpose leader. And one of his opponents for the election for mayor asked him, or made the point to him, you seem to mistake leadership with rulership. And that really sums it up. Of course, this is all part and parcel of the devolution revolution, as George Osborne likes to call it. And in October 2015, when he was talking about this, he said, it's time to face the facts. The way this country is run is broken. People feel remote from decisions that affect them. Our cities are held back, and there's no incentive to promote local enterprise. It's time we fixed it. This new way of governing our country requires handing power to the people. Let the devolution revolution begin. Now, of course, this is big society on steroids, and we'll come on to that a bit more in a second.
And the truth on its head, Mike, isn't it? Because the devolution of power is, in fact, the state power creeping down to the lowest possible level.
Absolutely. And the other point is, if the way this country is run is broken, it's because George Osborne, David Cameron, Tony Blair, and all their ilk have broken it. So absolutely intentionally brought us to this point. Then, of course, in March this year, during his budget speech, Osborne said, for the first time, we've reached agreement to establish new elected mayors in our English counties and southern cities too. We agreed a single powerful East Anglia combined authority headed up by an elected mayor and almost £1 billion of new investment. We've also agreed a new West of England mayoral authority, and they too will see almost £1 billion invested locally. And the authorities of Greater Lincolnshire will have new powers, new funding, and a new mayor. I just wanted to highlight this because this is the Mayor of The Hague, and he is in charge of the new Global Parliament of Mayors. And he's saying the Global Parliament of Mayors will deploy collective urban political power manifesting the right of cities to govern themselves, as well as the responsibility to enact viable cross-border solutions to global challenges. In this era of interdependence, where nation states are increasingly dysfunctional and cities are everywhere rising, the moment has come for cities to take the leap from effective local government to true global governance. To true global governance, that's what we're looking at here, global governance. So this is the project for a global parliament of mayors. What is the Parliament of Mayors movement? Well, they're talking about a planet ruled by cities representatives. A planet ruled by cities represents a new paradigm of global governance, of democratic globalism rather than top-down imposition, of horizontalism rather than hierarchy, of pragmatic interdependence rather than outworn ideologies of national independence. The foundations for this new world are being erected in our own age as cities collaborate and citizens communicate across borders and with increasing ease and frequency. What remains is to sense the liberating possibilities of these developments. Well, liberating for whom? And this was postulated in this book here that's on the screen there, If Mayors Rule the World, Dysfunctional Nations, Rising Cities, and that's by a guy called Benjamin Barber. And Barber, of course, is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. What does the Global Parliament of Mayors say about its role? Well, there's a number of questions on this website. For example, Question: in a world of nation states and supranational entities like the EU, will cities have the resources and jurisdictional authority to undertake the difficult work of global governance? And the answer is, one of the most important aims of the Global Parliament of Mayors is to develop a right of the city platform to secure the resources and jurisdictional autonomy necessary to discharging local and global responsibilities. Well, we've got to see who's driving this, because it's the like of Obama and Cameron, Common Purpose, these types of people that are driving this forward. That is pretty much a done deal. The next question is, can a Global Parliament of Mayors really be a world government with a command and control architecture? And the answer is no, it cannot. And should not aspire to be that. It should be a bottom-up, soft governance institution that works through influencing other levels of governance and the civic and private sector with sound policies and effective solutions. Global public opinion must also be its target. So in other words, this is the big society on a global level. What we're talking about here is not a bottom-up control. This is control from the top to the lowest level. So it is absolute dictatorship. So just to remind you, this is the article. Please distribute it far and wide. I just want to mention a couple of points from the conclusion, because at the end of this, what we're looking at, of course, is this £3 billion refurbishment of the Houses of Parliament, which are due to begin. And of course, the British government, the British Parliament is going to be thrown out of that building while that work goes on. And we're asking the question, if we have given away so much of our independent right to govern ourselves to the EU, and if we're about to give away the rest of it to these city mayors and to these city states and city regions, this basically is the abolition of the nation.
It's being put in place, or it's being conducted increasingly rapidly, Mike, and it's just becoming so easy to see society degenerating into chaos and turbulence, which of course is to take people's eye off what's being done in the dark. But we're now starting to see these milestones come out. So quite a few people commenting in our chat room at the moment and saying what we've got here is a dictatorship.